However, there's a consistency, okay? Whenever we're writing linear equations, we've got to have things, okay? All you need is the slope and y-intercept. So long as you have a slope and a y-intercept, you can write an equation for a linear. You can write a linear equation. That's all you need. So when you try to enter some of these problems, understand that's your goal. If I can find the slope, or if I'm given the slope, it's going to make my life a lot easier. Okay? But without the slope, you're going to struggle to write an equation. Oftentimes, you can figure out the slope, and then once you figure out the slope, you can find the y-intercept. But you just need those two things. So as you're looking through all these types of problems, you've got to keep this in mind the whole time. If you don't have these two things right away, look to try to find them or figure them out. Because if you can do that, the rest of the problems sort of follow a pretty simple path that should make sense. Obviously, if you're given both of these things, it's super easy to do. Okay. Start off pretty easy. Okay. You know about slope-intercept form already. Write down what you need to. Okay. I want you to go ahead and give me an equation. Slope 6, y-intercept's -7. Go ahead and write that out real fast. It shouldn't take long. Pretty simple. Should have had that. Raise your hand if you have that. Okay. That's as easy as it'll get. Okay. If all we need is the slope and y-intercept, and you're given those two things, it's literally a matter of plugging it in, and then you're done. Okay. Obviously, it's not usually going to be that easy. Most of the time, they're probably only going to give you one of those things, and you got to find the other. But again, it's all within your capability. Okay. So sometimes you're going to be given the slope, but not the y-intercept. But you can still write the equation so long as you're also given a point that lies on the line. So you have to have some more information. Okay. So a lot of times they'll tell you the slope, and then this line lies on point whatever. And we'll go through an example there as far as how to do that. So one of the things you kind of have to look out for in this section is the different types of problems you're going to see. You're going to see the most basic, easy problem where they give you the slope and y-intercept. Plug it in, you're done. Then there's going to be problems like this. Here's another category of problems. They give you just the slope and a point. Okay. Now, I will tell you that there's more than one way to do this. And if someone along the way taught you point-slope formula and you want to use it, go for it. I don't teach that. To me, I don't want you to have to memorize a bunch of different formulas. Let's just stick with one and work from that. To me, that seems easier. Again, I'm not prohibiting you from using point-slope formula if you want. It's in the book. Maybe your other teacher taught it to you. If you're comfortable with that, feel free to use it. I just don't teach it because I want you to just to know one equation is good enough. The slope-intercept form of an equation is good enough for me, and I'm not worried about the other ones. Okay. Here's the kind of situation. So if you're given a slope and the point on the line, we have to find the y-intercept. So again, we go back to this concept that we're always trying to find the slope and the y-intercept. Okay? Slope and y-intercept. Okay. So, here's an example. So you're going to find an equation with the line that slope 3 goes through the point 2, 8. So I've given you the slope. We don't know the y-intercept. Okay. But I'm given that point on a line. So what I have left to do is find the y-intercept. And here's how we're going to start this problem. So I'm going to start off writing what I know. Since I know that the slope is 3, I can substitute 3 in for m. I don't have the b part. Okay, and so which piece of information do we already have? We have the slope. So we literally just start with this much. Again, write down what you need to. I know I'm going kind of quick. But ultimately, where we're trying to go, where we need to get somewhere with this equation. Since we already know the slope, m equals 3, I can do this much. And so that's a good start. What we're going to be able to do is find the y-intercept, or b, and then we'll have our equation will be done. Questions so far? Show of hands, who knows what I do next? Danielle, what do I do next? You were closer when what we started with. No.
Just plug in the 2 and the 8, so 2 is with the x's and 8 and 1.
Exactly. So you just take this point and you plug it in. So the 2 is the x value. The 8 is the y value. So then I'm down to one equation with one unknown. Right? Since I know that point, what I really know is an x and a y that go together. And so we can find b because we know that we have this point that lies on the line, and it's just a matter of substituting. So here's the sort of meat of it. We can substitute the values in for x and y. Any point represents an x and a y, we can just substitute those values in. And I drew a bunch of squiggly lines for you to see how I substituted in, and then you just have to solve, okay? And then we have b. So do that. And then actually write your equation. After you have come up with your equation, turn to someone near you and see if you got the same thing. Obviously, down here it's just a matter of simplifying this. B should have equaled 2. Okay, there's the work if you need to prove it. And there's my equation. How many had y equals 3x plus 2? Okay, again, understand the concept. Good. Understand the concept. Slope, y-intercept, that's what we're trying to get to. In this case, we're given the slope, so we had to travel through and find the y-intercept. Okay? Piece of cake. That's one type of problem. They give you. So the first type of problem was slope y-intercept, plug it in. Second type of problem is give you the slope, and they'll give you a point on the line, but then you have to find the y-intercept. Okay? There's another kind of problem where they give you nothing. Just kidding. Oh, actually, there's one more. I want you to try this one first. Equation of line with slope 2 goes through 412. You do that one. Go. What you got? Did you get that? Raise your hand if you got that. Well done. Well done. All right. Next type of problem. Ready? Okay. So, here's a problem where they don't give us the slope or the y-intercept. So we just can't do it, right? Why not? I mean, I need the slope or y-intercept. I don't have that. What am I supposed to do here? Yeah? Find the slope, right? If you're given 2 points, you can find the slope. And if you can find the slope, then we're back to the problem that we just did. I have the slope and a point. In fact, I have 2 points. Raise your hand if you want to just do this on your own, or raise your hand if you want me to walk you through this one. Okay, go for it. Try it. See how smart you really are. So let's go through it. Okay, we're going to find the slope. Okay, we have 2 points, we find the slope. We already established that. Now, what you should get for the slope is -2. Here's the thing that I want to change up on you. Okay? Did I split it? Here's the thing. We have the slope. We can find that y-intercept like we did for the last 2 problems because we have a slope and a point. Here's what I want you to do. Here's what I want to try to prove. Okay, everybody on the right of me, so this row over, I want you guys to use the point 1, 2. Okay, everybody this way, I want you guys to use the point 3, -2. And we're going to prove something. Okay, everybody know which point they're supposed to use. Okay, go ahead and do that from there. So, Kalani, right side of the room, what did you get for your answer?
Y equals -2x plus 4.
Negative 2x plus 4. Right side of the room, do you agree with Kalani?
Yeah.
Raise your hand if you agree. Negative 2x plus 4. Okay, thank you. Left side of the room. Spencer, what'd you get?
Y equals negative 2x plus 4.
Left side of the room, do you agree with Spencer? Anybody disagree? Okay, so we got the same equation, right side of the room versus left side of the room, using each point. Okay, so here's the takeaway. These points both lie on the same line, so it shouldn't matter which one you use, and that's really what this says. It doesn't matter which point you choose. Just choose one of them. I don't care which. My little experiment was to prove it doesn't make a difference. You get the same equation. Okay, those points are also on the same line, and so the work looks a little different for each one because you're plugging in the points differently, but there's the sort of proof that it should work out the same. Okay? Questions on that? All right, next we've got quite a few more things to look at. So that's the easy part out of the way. Okay, within slope and equations, we have intersecting lines sometimes. You can have parallel lines, you can have perpendicular lines. Okay, and we're going to talk about all of that now. So parallel lines, again, write down what you need to. If you understand what parallel lines are, then you don't necessarily have to write this down. Parallel lines, two or more lines that go on forever in both directions that never intersect or cross. No matter how far out you extend them, they're never going to intersect. And then what's true about parallel lines, there's some qualities that are true about any sets of parallel lines. Question? No? You have a question? No, you want to...
I got an answer.
You have an answer to a question that hasn't even been asked. That's crazy. What do you think the question is first?
Well, I was just going to answer what they have in common.
Okay, so you want to know, you think you can tell me what parallel lines have in common.
Yeah.
What is it, you think?
The same slope.
They have the same slope. How many of you agree with Evan? Okay. Do you know what else is true about parallel lines besides having the same slope? See, and then we fade out. Ooh, Rachel, what do you got?
They never intersect.
That's true, but we said that already. What else? What else is true about, what other characteristics are true about equations of parallel lines? Yes, they have the same slope, but what else? See, I am a teacher today. Their y-intercepts are different. That's the other piece. If they have the same slope and the same y-intercept, they're the same line. So it's important to notice that, yes, the slopes of parallel lines are the same, but the y-intercept for parallel lines are different. That's the second quality that's important. Let's look at some examples, okay? Okay. So one of the types of problems you're going to have to do is something like this. We're going to write an equation of a line that's parallel to y equals negative 2x plus 4 and goes through 3, 4. This is very similar to the types of problems we just looked at. Even with parallel lines and perpendicular lines, we still need two things in order to write an equation. We need the slope and we need the y-intercept. Okay? So what do we have here? You have to identify the slope for the new line that we're trying to find. Okay? What's that new line's slope going to be? Camille. Negative 2. So since the slope for this line is negative 2, the slope for the new line has to be negative 2, since they're going to be parallel. So we sort of already start off with this. It takes on a similar form. We just don't know the y-intercept. So go ahead and find the y-intercept now, knowing that it goes through this point 3, 4. Go. Hopefully, you got this. How many got that? Fantastic. Okay. So again, it turns into a problem like we did before over here. All right. Take the point, plug it in, good to go. All right. Perpendicular lines. Oh, I thought you were going that way. Okay, perpendicular lines. Two lines that intersect across to form a right angle. In case you weren't unaware of what a right angle is, a right angle is equal to 90 degrees. All right. Just like for parallel lines, there are certain characteristics that we have to know with respect to the slope. And after you get that down, I will tell you about them. So, we only need to worry about the slopes. We don't need to worry about the y-intercepts. Okay? So when I talk about opposite reciprocals, it means these two things. Okay? The slopes have opposite signs. So one of the lines is positive, the other one is negative, or vice versa. And then the slopes are flipped. That's what reciprocals mean. Okay. Obviously, if I have an integer, think about there being a 1 underneath it, so when you flip it over, it'll have a 1 on top. Okay. That's what opposite reciprocals mean. Signs different, numbers are flipped. In fact, they are opposite multiplicative inverses, if you want to think about it that way too. Okay? Here's an example. Oh, let's do this first. So here's an equation, y equals 4x minus 3. So the question is, what is the slope of a line perpendicular to that? Just go ahead and write that down on your iPad. What is the slope of a line perpendicular to this line? So write down what the slope should be. In other words, find the slope of the new line that's perpendicular to this line right here. Perpendicular to this line. So you should have gotten negative 1/4 is the new slope. So the line perpendicular to y equals 4x minus 3 will have a slope of negative 1/4. So flip the 4, change the sign. How many had that? Very good. All right. Questions so far? Do an example, and I think we'll be out of here. All right. So here we go. Write an equation of a line that is going to be perpendicular to y equals negative 1/5 x plus 4 and goes through 1, negative 2. So do that. What's my new slope going to be? New slope. Danielle, what's my new slope? 5. Okay. So my new slope has to be 5. Take that negative 1/5, change the sign, and flip it. So that's going to be my new slope. And then we know the point, and then the rest is we've already done a bunch of times already today. Finish that up, let's see what you get. Okay. Did you get that? Raise your hand if you got that. Very good. Well done.